Welcome to the Sarpy County Board of Commissioners meeting. Today is Tuesday, September 5th, 2023. It's 3:00 p.m. Please silence all cell phones. A copy of the Nebraska Opens Meeting Act is located on the north wall of the county board room. We'll call the meeting to order. We have present today Commissioners Kelly, Klug, Mixon, and Burmeister. Commissioner Warren is absent today. We also have our County Administrator Dan Hoynes and our County Clerk Deb Hotelling. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item number 4 is the consent agenda. Would anyone like to see any items removed from the consent agenda, or if not, a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Klug, second by Commissioner Kelly. Any discussion? Please vote.
Ayes 4, absent Warren.
Item number 5.1 is the treasurer interviews. Dan Hoynes, County Administrator.
Thank you, Madam Clerk, or Madam Chair. Madam Clerk, so two madams. As you're well aware, the county clerk received 10 applications for the vacant position of treasurer. And after initial screening of the applicants, Commissioner Warren and I recommended a formal interview of 4, and so would like to present those 4 in alphabetical order today for the remainder of the board to conduct a public interview.
Perfect. We're going to start with our first applicant, who's Jason Carter. And if you want to come up to the podium here, Jason, and we're going to have, the commissioners are going to ask a series of questions. And then we're keeping the timing to 30 minutes tops. We may be under that depending on how things go.
Sure.
But we'll kind of go through each of the commissioners with questions, and then we'll have at the end just a couple of minutes for any follow-up.
Okay.
So we'll start with Commissioner Kelly with his question.
Okay.
Done.
Hey, Jason, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good. Are you nervous or?
Not as bad as last time.
Me either. So, well, thanks for taking time to come up here. First question is, how would you recognize employees for good work? And what have you found works best to motivate and reward employees?
So rewarding employees, obviously go up, tell them great job. I would try and create hopefully a reward system of some type, see if there's anything that we can do a little extra for our employees, because everyone in that office is amazing. Unfortunately, it'd be kind of hard just to pick out and to single out a single good deed, because they all do great deeds already. But I would just try and continue our current atmosphere in keeping a good running office, and just, I guess keeping up with what we've done in the past of just, acknowledging through early morning meetings if we have to come in early, or if we're going to stay late for meetings, as an office, and just publicly recognize them.
Okay, thank you.
Perfect. We'll move on to Commissioner Mixon.
Jason, if you had a situation where your staff did not meet your level of expectation to the work or product in a timeliness manner, et cetera, how would you handle that? And then what would you also do to make sure that doesn't happen again in the future?
Well, first, I would try and coach them in whatever they did wrong. Like I said, everyone there is great. I'd hate to lose anybody, and to retrain staff and to hire new staff to replace someone who is doing a poor job is very costly and time consuming. So I try and correct the problem right off the bat, first off, give them opportunities to grow and learn from the mistake, and also just look at the mistake in general and see if it was just an error from the clerk, if it's an error, process perspective, or just a fluke error in general, because those do happen. But go through and just, try and reteach the clerk if needed, or staff member for that matter. It doesn't necessarily have to be one of our front clerks. But try and give them an opportunity to learn from the mistake instead of just saying, oh, we're going to, very first time, we're going to write you up first time, just try and bring them in, see what's going on, and then, kind of progress from there if, write-ups need to happen or more serious consequences.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Klug?
Thanks, Angie. Jason, thanks for being here. Really appreciate your time.
Yes, thank you.
Question around ideas of change that you might bring to the organization. So as a treasurer, you'd undoubtedly have some ideas about changes or new initiatives that you might want to see around the office. Can you tell us about a program or initiative that you've had a positive experience with in the past and how doing something similar could be beneficial to the treasurer's office in the county?
Well, the nice thing about our office right now is we don't really need a lot of change. We've built ourselves back up to the status within the public side and just internally as well of having the respect we once had. If any change that I would make, one would be to, try to do a little more cross-training, because end of March, end of July, end of the year can kind of get a little chaotic, and having a couple extra hands in one part of the office or the other would be more beneficial.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yep.
Perfect. Jason, the candidates for this position bring a wide variety of experience and background. Name the top 2 subject matter strengths and 2 personality or soft skill strengths you would bring to the treasurer's job, and tell us a little bit about whether you meet the qualifications for the position and how your skills fit in that set.
So I guess right off the bat, first off, I've already built the reputation and have the relationships built within the county, within all of our business partners that we work with. I have the trust and, relationships already built within the office itself as well. And then, I'm pretty easygoing. That was the nice thing, going from Trace to whoever we're going to, hopefully that can be consistent, an easygoing atmosphere for everybody. But I say I'm the best candidate for the job. I got the experience. I've been working for the treasurer's office for almost 8 years now. I've worked on both sides of the office. So I got experience in motor vehicles and the real estate and finance area already. Whereas if someone coming in off the street gets the job, it's going to be a lot more of a learning curve for them on top of learning our system that we have in place currently. It'll be a lot more seamless transition.
And you meet the qualifications that were published?
Correct, I do.
Okay. Jason, we each had a question, and now we have kind of an open opportunity for you to tell us anything you think we need to know about your qualifications for the position, or anything you think we need to know in our evaluation of the candidates.
Really, the only thing I would want to say is we have something special at our office right now, and it's something I would hate to see broken up. There's a lot of concern and worry going around, and I've had a lot of people, push me to do this. They want me to try and go after this job, and it's something I want to do anyway. This is the second time I've applied for this position already, and had an interview in front of the board here, and it's something that change within the office could be very detrimental, and me becoming the treasurer would eliminate that worry, just mainly because we don't need a lot of change right now. We need consistency. I wouldn't be bringing in anybody new. Dan Talakis would still be my deputy treasurer. The only new person that would come in would be whoever would replace my position. So overall, I just appreciate the board's time and letting me come up and have the interview opportunity. And I guess if there's any other questions, I'll be more than happy to answer.
Sure. Do any of the commissioners have any follow-up questions? None?
Oh, I can ask one. And I always got questions. Right? So I think I'm going to give you a hypothetical,
Sure.
okay? You're the new treasurer. You've been selected for the job, and you've been in the job for 3 weeks. A Sarpy County resident calls the administrator, Mr. Hoynes, and complains about an issue concerning some of your staff. This issue and these staff have also been the subject of several other complaints over the past 6 months. The administrator is beginning to suspect that there may be a performance problem with the staff involved. How would you handle that situation?
Well, I would bring in the staff member's manager, whether it be motor vehicle or real estate, bring in their manager, kind of talk through and, see what other performance issues have been documented already and have been noted. And then again, kind of continue from there to see what the proper procedure is going to be, whether it needs to be just talking to them, seeing what's going on, tell them, what the customers are saying, try and get their perspective of the issue, because there's always two sides to a story. I'd hate to make a decision just based on one. And then, if whether it be a written reprimand, whether it be a PIP or whatever would need to happen for the employee, I'd work and try and again correct any issues that they might have in hopes that we could keep them. But at the end of the day, if we have a bad employee, it's best sometimes to also cut ties.
Okay, thanks.
Any of the other commissioners have a follow-up question?
Well, I have another question. I would just like to have you talk a little bit about yourself and describe
Sure.
your strengths and your weaknesses.
Sure. So myself, I've always considered myself a leader, a coach. I play hockey, and I have been captain and assistant captain a handful of times. I always try and coach kids as much as possible when I'm coaching on the ice for everybody. And even outside of that, I would try and help anybody who has an issue for anything, whether it be my neighbor needs help for mowing the lawn, or someone needs help with their computer, because I help a lot of people with technology issues. Weaknesses, sometimes I'm too nice. Sometimes I stretch myself too much to help out too much, but I always seem to find a way to make everything work. Weakness, sometimes I have trouble talking in front of boards. Don't make the questions last long enough.
Perfect.
It's not an easy thing to do.
Perfect.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. I don't think we have any other follow-up questions, so appreciate you coming out, Jason, and applying for the position.
Can I ask one more question?
Sure.
Thanks. This is a political office,
Yes.
and which means that to stay in this position, you'd have to run for election in whenever the current term is up. I'm not even sure. It might be a couple years or something. Are you committed to doing that or not?
Yep. I have plans in place already to run in 26 when time becomes necessary. And then also plans in place if for some reason I would lose the election to have in case, so I have a backup money to find a new job. Because I know if I lose the election, I lost my job.
Okay, thank you.
Perfect. Any other follow-up questions? Okay. The board plans to weigh the candidates, and we'll make a decision next week on the 12th. And so you'll be notified at that time. Jason, thank you so much for coming out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, yeah. I just had no idea how long it would take. So
What's that?
I had no idea how long it would take. So,
Yeah,
yeah. So if we just ask the same ones.
I think everyone's gonna be a little nervous.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be a lot shorter than we probably planned for.
Yeah.
That's okay.
We were, it's okay. We filled in there. Hello, how are you? And this is Jeff Mikesell. He's our second candidate. Jeff, we're going to ask, each of the commissioners is going to ask one or two questions. Then we'll have an opportunity to have you just tell us a few things that you think we might need to know for the selection of the candidate for the position. And we should move along pretty quick. We have a maximum of half an hour, but we're moving pretty quick. So if we're shorter, that's not a problem either.
Okay.
Just kind of keep it at a maximum. So we'll start with Commissioner Kelly's question first.
Hi, Jeff.
Afternoon.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Appreciate you applying for the job. The first question is it's a softball, but no, they're all hard questions. But this one is, I think, pretty easy. How do you recognize employees for good work? And what have you found best in your experience that works best to motivate and reward employees?
Thank you for the question. That's a good one. To reward the people that are working for you, a daily affirmation, being connected with them on a daily basis so you're aware of what they're doing. If you notice that they overcome some sort of daily hiccup or a problem that's been endemic and you notice it, give them a pat on the back right away. If there's some sort of the month or of the year program, of course, that's always good. Ultimately, the only thing you can really do to please people is time and money. So if you can give them some time off, a day a week, whatever's appropriate, or some kind of bonus or a step promotion, some kind of raise, that is always effective because that's how people truly define their success is being recognized in that way.
Okay, and then I guess that covers everything. You talked about recognizing employees, right? That's it.
Okay.
Good answer.
All right, Commissioner Mixon, you're next.
Good afternoon. Afternoon. Yes, my question is actually threefold. The first one is just an example of a situation where a person under your watch did not fulfill their duties as necessary for the work, and/or they just did not take up a matter with another person, communication or following up, lack of follow through. Again, all of it work related. And just how you would deal with that and what example you would have. And then also the follow-up to that would be, what steps would you take to ensure that doesn't happen again going forward?
Okay, well, that could be a 30-minute answer right there. I can give two examples, and I'll address you. There's a success example and a failure example. Start with the failure example. The team I was leading back in the day, 25 folks, this person showed up with qualifications on paper, looked good. That's why this person got the job. Got in there, and there was no eagerness. There was no being on time. There was no producing. So we put him on a program. Okay, this is, I won't go into the details there, but a very structured program of how to improve. Long story short, he was unwilling to progress through that program and meet an acceptable standard of performance. And we ran it up the chain, and he was ultimately relieved of his duties and moved along. Got another person in there, everything was fine. A success story, this is back in my flying days. I was an instructor pilot at the time, had a brand new co-pilot, couldn't fly, he couldn't refuel. this is in the B1 specifically, you know, we aerial refueled. He just having a heck of a time, didn't know the books. So I personally took him under my wing. We had daily, as much time as we had, at least 30 minutes. Sometimes it went 2 or 3 hours. A little re-education on the books, what's important, what you have to do, what you have to know. And there was just some basic things in his head that he had wrong as far as, you know, employing the aircraft were concerned. A flight or two after that, just almost like the light bulb went on. And he got it, and he's an instructor pilot now, which is really satisfying to hear. So it depends on the situation, it depends on the person, it depends on their eagerness to apply. But you get the right person in there, you train them up properly, you give them the tools, and you shove them out the door, keep an eye on them, and monitor their progress. Sometimes they're going to do it, sometimes they won't.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Klug?
Thank you, Angie. Thank you for your time. Thanks for being here today. Some questions about some ideas that you might bring to the treasurer's office. So as treasurer, I'd have to assume with the experience that you're bringing to the table, you have some ideas of what you might bring in to change within the organization or initiatives that you might want to put into place. Can you tell us about program or initiatives that you've had positive experiences with in the past and how you could potentially bring those into the county to benefit the treasurer's office and our residents?
As previous, that's another 30-minute answer. I'll keep it very brief, and please ask for more details if you wish. You get into the job, you immerse yourself with the people, with the culture, with the process, procedure. This is how we do things, this is how we've done things. Okay. You're probably going to have a core group of folks that you bounce ideas off of, but you engage everyone to get their thoughts and ideas. And if you see something that doesn't quite seem right to you, you might ask your right hand, hey, I'm seeing this. Did you try and change this 2, 5, 10 years ago? If so, why not? And work through it that way. And if it's a real good idea that I happen to have, share it with the folks. Say, hey, I'm seeing X, I'm thinking Y. What do y'all think? Here's where I think that we need to go. Here's my desired end state. What do you think? And ask them the same questions. Has this been done before, thought of? Maybe it just needs to be tweaked. Maybe it's a brand new blast of genius that just I thought of. But you have to engage your team. You have to communicate. You just don't go in there guns a-blazing. You go in there, Trace has done a fantastic job. So I intend on day one to do as I just described. Soak up the culture, the process, the procedures, the people, get to know them, and then, you know, ease the ship here and there if need be. I'm not sure that it needs it right this moment, but you never know once we get in there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Jeff, the candidates for this position bring a wide variety of experience and background. Please name the top 2 subject matter strengths and 2 personality or soft skill strengths you would bring to the treasurer's job, and let us know if you meet the qualifications that were published for the position.
Okay. Taking a step back on 2 qualifications that folks really need. People tend to fall in 2 groups. One is mission-oriented, one is people-oriented. Mission-oriented is just bang, bang, bang. It doesn't matter how many people we lose or who gets hurt or how hard we drive the team. We've got to get the mission done. And then the other one is people. You just take care of the people, everything about them. If the mission gets done, that's great. But if not, that's okay too, because it's all about the people and keeping them happy where they are. The trick is to find the happy medium between there. Sometimes a task will be more people-centric, sometimes it'll be more mission-centric. I'm guessing the last week of the month in the treasurer's office is a little more mission-centric with everybody coming in to pay off their tags and such. So it'll vary. The trick is to recognize the situation, having the team on your side, communicating with them properly. Give them a heads up. Hey, for the next week, we're going to have to hit this kind of hard, but after that, we'll do whatever to make up for it or whatever's appropriate in that context.
Okay, follow-up questions?
Hypothetical question for you, Jeff. You're selected as the new treasurer and you've been on the job for 3 weeks, and a Sarpy County resident or customer calls the administrator and complains about an issue concerning some of your staff. This issue and these staff have been the subject of several other complaints over the past 6 months. The administrator is beginning to suspect there may be a performance problem with the staff involved. How would you handle this situation?
Thank you for the question. That would be situation specific. I would have needed to live through the whole issue and understand the whole context. But generally, I would reply to the person who complained and say, give me a day or week to work into this, and I'll get back with you, because this is all about the taxpayers and the citizens of Sarpy County. If there's paperwork on this person, we need to revisit that. If it's truly a performance issue that needs to be documented, retrained, get them back out there to serve the public as needed. Pretty much what I described with the success and failure stories that I experienced earlier in my career. So it's a hypothetical situation, so I don't have an outcome, but you need to address it at all levels. Speak to the complaining citizen, speak to the person, the team, whatever the issue is down there, get the true story. Sometimes the truth is in between the two, sometimes it's not. So you have to determine that and then take appropriate action. What's appropriate? Again, it depends. If that person needs more training, give them more training. Train them up. Most folks are there, want to do a good job. Give them that opportunity. And if it's truly an endemic issue with this person or this team, then you have to take a little more elevated measures and do what's appropriate there, whether it's dismissal or more punitive action. Just depends.
Thank you.
It's funny to look at me. I'm big into just asking a general question. That general question is strengths and weaknesses, and I'll let you take it from there. Whether it's your greatest strength, your greatest weakness, and weaknesses aren't always bad if you understand them and you know then how to work around them. So I'm not trying to look at any necessary faults. I'm just, where do you think that comes from within you?
Wow, good question. Greatest strength, I think I'm a pretty good leader. I think I have a good context and understanding of the world in general and specific situations. I think I'm having an awareness to lead a team. I've led teams as small as 2 when I was working special things down in the basement of Stratcom, and I've had 750 people twice when I was deployed as Deputy Operations Group Commander over there, shall we say. So there's different styles. When it's just you and another guy in a closet banging on a computer, that's very different than having 750 troops out on the flight line or in the office or in the hangar or wherever they are. It's a degree of involvement, it's a degree of visibility, knowing when you need to be visible and present and out front, and then other times you just have to let them go because they got it. So knowing that difference there. A weakness I could say used to be was impatience. I used to be impatient. I wanted to do it. I want to get it done. Okay, we can do this, we can do this. Well, I think I've professionally grown out of that because I don't have all the best ideas. Pretty good ones most times, I think. But you have to share these thoughts. You have to get team building consensus within the team. So there's really no place for, I just want to hurry up and get this done and push it through being impatient. So not saying it doesn't rear its head occasionally, but I'm aware of it. And again, it's about communicating with the team and getting them all on the same page. That's how you get it done properly. Do it right the first time.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Kelly, did you have one other follow-up?
Yeah, one last question. So getting appointed treasurer's the easy part. This is a political office. So would you be committed to running again for election when your term is up from this appointment?
Standing here today, I can keep a straight face and tell you that is 100% my expectation. I believe this county and this job in particular needs stability. They need to know who's in there, who's going to be there doing the job. So yes, to answer your question,
Great,
that's my intent.
thank you.
Just as a follow-up, one of the questions I asked before was whether you meet the current qualifications that were published. I think one of those was being
registered voter in Sarpy County. Is that, are you a registered voter?
I am. I vote in every election. My polling places change a couple times, and of course during COVID we did it by mail, but I'm a right-leaning registered voter in Sarpy County and have been for the over 20 years that I've been a resident.
Perfect. Anybody have any follow-up questions that we missed? So at this point, Jeff, we just have kind of an open opportunity for you to tell us anything you want to tell us about anything in terms of who we should pick for the position.
Well, you pretty much picked through my speech. That's okay, but I'll hit the highlights, and if there's any details you care to delve into, please do. Name's Jeff Mikesell, over 20-year resident of Papillion by choice. Stayed here after my Air Force career, which was 25 years, almost 25 years long. Combat decorated Air Force pilot, which I loved. Most recently, I was the military affairs director for the Omaha Chamber. In that job, I was responsible for the attraction and retention of military missions and veterans in the state of Nebraska, to include the Guard. Pretty wide-ranging. That included the STRATCOM construction. That's right when I started in 2015. Came in on the tail end of that. Not taking credit for any of this, but I was involved with it deeply. The runway improvement, long story there, but that's a big success story. We finally got that going, about $150 million, and that was operational in September of '22. Most recently, the flood. I think we remember the flood that was March of 2019. About a third of the base was underwater, and we were at risk of losing the airplanes. Offutt will never close, I can say that, but they can sure take our airplanes away. 10,000 people, that would equate to a $900 million annual economic impact to Sarpy, mostly in Douglas County. We can't have that. So with my network of civic and business leaders and delegations at the state and DC, tight with all those folks, saw them 3-4 times a year officially on Capitol Hill during my trips there, and then informally at other events. We're able to get it together, and there's a 3-phase project to rebuild effectively all of Offutt Air Force Base. We lose the airplanes, they would just shrink the fence around STRATCOM and call it good. The Air Force would. That would be catastrophic for this area. So by getting the runway squared away as we should have, by getting the Offutt rebuild as we should have, I think we've done all we can do to ensure the longevity of Offutt as we know it into the future.
Perfect. All right. Thank you so much for coming out. The board's going to consider all the candidates over the next week and then vote at the September 12th meeting, so we'll be in touch at that time.
Okay.
Thanks so much.
Commissioners, thank you for your time.
Appreciate
Thanks, Jeff.
Good day.
Hello, how are you? Our next candidate's Nathan Soto. Nathan, we're going to go through a series of questions from the commissioners.
Okay.
And then at the end, we'll give you an opportunity to just tell us anything you want to tell us about your qualifications or really anything in terms of what we need to know for choosing a person for this position. So
Okay.
we're going to start with Commissioner Kelly.
Hey, Nathan.
Hello.
How you doing?
I'm doing okay.
All right. Well, thanks for taking time out of your day to come talk to us and answer a few questions. Look forward to hearing your responses. The first question is a pretty easy one, I think, but it's an important one. How do you recognize employees for good work? And what have you found in your experience that works best to motivate and reward employees?
Sure. Well, I first of all would like to thank you guys all for allowing me here to interview in front of you guys. As far as how I would reward employees, I definitely reward them with affirmation. I think that what is most important when working with employees, especially in the treasurer's office. There is a lot of information that they have to know every day. And being able to give them the skills so that they can work autonomously is a wonderful, rewarding feeling for them and for the leaders that are working with them. So allowing them to work on their skills and bringing those skills up is how they are going to continue to be successful in the future. They're going to be able to not have to ask as many questions. They're not going to need as much affirmation. They're going to be looking for more responsibilities, take on more things, and building that future leader of the organization from the ground up.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Gary? Commissioner Mixon?
Yes. Nathan, welcome. And I have, well, it's a several-part question, and it really pertains to if you have someone in your organization that's not performing up to their standard or up to the standards of the work, or not communicating or responding to others within a timely manner, et cetera, how would you deal with that? And then how do you deal with that going forward to correct the situation?
Sure. Well, I know from experience that can happen very easily. The biggest thing is clear communication, clear expectations. So for me, and in many examples that I've had in my current experience, we got to make sure that the expectations are set out clear, and there's got to be accountability behind those things. So setting out goals and following up with them, giving them opportunities for resources if they're struggling, if this is something that there's something else that may be involved that's holding them back from being able to follow through, that's very important. So letting them have an opportunity to bring those problems to us, and we can work and make those steps to try to accommodate that to an extent. But the bottom line is there's got to be accountability. And so, obviously, if that continues, that behavior is repetitive and it continues, there's going to be, obviously documentation. The appropriate alleys will be followed via the Sarpy County HR department, things like that. But communication is going to be key. Knowing what are the things that are holding you back, what can I, as the future treasurer, offer to help you be able to obtain these goals. And if that's not something that we can get to, then unfortunately we're going to have to take other ways through the way of termination. So,
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Klug?
Thank you, Angie. So thank you again for being here today. Really appreciate your time. So with the experience that you have and that you're bringing to the table, I'm guessing that undoubtedly you have some ideas of what you might bring to change up the treasurer's office, or ideas and initiatives that you might want to take.
Sure.
Can you tell us about a program or initiative that you've been involved with in the past that you've had great success on, and how you might apply something similar to the treasurer's office to create a better environment for the treasurer's office as well as the residents of Sarpy?
Sure. Well, from my experience working for Douglas County, I have had the opportunity to start out. I started out as just a basic level clerk when I was promoted up into the leadership. So one of the things that I got to bring into the treasurer's office was my ability of training and professional development of employees. I really value an informed, customer service-based employee. We need to try to change the concept that many people have of the treasurer's office as the typical DMV. There's always that bad stigmatization with the DMV employee. So working towards making sure that we're offering great customer service that allows them to leave with a great experience. Also giving them solutions. I know that, again, coming back to that negative vision of a DMV official, Usually people think of it as very bureaucratic and very long and things like that. So giving them solutions. If we have to turn people away, we're going to try to come up with different solutions, things that they can do. You bring this back, we can process this for you. Not just saying no, see you later, and come back. We want to give them options and inform the public, because I know from my experience, I work for the Douglas County Treasurer's Office. I did it every single day. So I know a lot of the jargon that goes in with this organization. But somebody that's out in the public, they may renew 2 cars maybe a year and maybe buy one car every 5 to 10 years. So this stuff is not necessarily black and white for them. They might need some guidance. They might need that stuff. And so having staff that is going to be able to inform the public, give them that information, and guide them along their pathway, that's going to be key to our success.
Thank you.
Okay, Nathan, the candidates for this position bring a wide variety of experience and background. Name the top 2 subject matter strengths and 2 personality or soft skill strengths you would bring to the treasurer's job, and include in your comments whether you meet the qualifications that were published for the position.
Sure. Well, as far as the 2 strengths that I believe that I carry, one would be my leadership experience. I have had the opportunity to work in a leadership capacity with the Douglas County Treasurer's Office for about 6 years now. On top of that, prior to that, I was the assistant manager for a private clothing store called Gap Inc. So I worked there for a long time. So I have some experience with both the private sector and the public sector. I also am very, very much invested in public service, even though I've never been in a political office before or a political position. Customer service and working with the public is very important to me. And making sure that all of our employees are providing the citizens of Sarpy County their best and the best possible solutions for them to get their tasks completed. That's very important. I guess as far as soft skills go, I find myself to have a strong work ethic. When I first started at the Douglas County Treasurer's Office, I walked in, like I had mentioned prior, as just a clerk. And within the first year, I was applying for higher positions. I took very seriously the fact that I wanted to learn more, I wanted to do more. I felt like I had a lot to offer the organization. And so that is something that I very much value, and I hope that will hopefully give me a leg up on some of my competitors. Another one would be just communication. I definitely value that. I value clear and concise communication with everybody. Working for the Douglas County Treasurer's Office, I've had the ability to work in several different capacities within the Treasurer's Office. So, aside from just processing titles and registrations for people, I've got to do a lot of things with the property taxes, the tax sales, those kinds of things that are also underneath the umbrella of the Treasurer's Office. And you have to communicate with a lot of different departments, whether that's the assessor's office or the courts or anything along those lines. That's very important. And then also, because the treasurer's office is going to be obviously superseded by the state, having communication with the state of Nebraska, being able to have those relationships, that's going to be key to our success, because they're for the most part, can over supersede us and give us directive pertaining to the motor vehicle department and things like that.
Thank you. Part of that question had to do with qualifications. Are you a registered voter, and then you're currently a resident of Douglas County, correct?
No, I'm a resident of Sarpy County. I live in the hills of Aspen Creek, which is in Gretna. Yes, I am a registered voter.
Perfect. I think Commissioner Kelly has the next question.
Yes, sort of touched on this, but we'll give you another chance here this is a hypothetical question. You're the new treasurer and you've been on the job for 3 weeks. A Sarpy County resident customer calls the administrator and complains about an issue concerning some of your staff. This issue and these staff have also been the subject of several other complaints over the past 6 months. The administrator is beginning to suspect there may be a performance problem with the staff involved. How would you handle this situation?
Sure. Well, that's very important. Obviously, where I currently stand, we are the face of the treasurer in my current role at the Douglas County Treasurer's Office. So as far as the employees that are working, they are going to be the face of me. Everything falls back on me. So whether that means that we're not training somebody, or there's something more serious involved, I think the way that we would first handle that would be obviously document these particular incidences. Make sure that we are following the county procedures as far as, written warnings, verbal reprimands, things of that nature, and putting some sort of accountability behind that. And then if it obviously continues to escalate, then we'll have to then look at something like termination. But I know from experience working with the staff that I've worked with, communication is going to be key. We need to make sure that they know what their expectations are, what they need to do every single day, and they have to live up to that. And that would be setting those kinds of goals, whether it's, because we handle a lot of money. So it's about being ethical, it's about being kind, it's about being patient, and it's about informing the public and providing those services to the public in Sarpy County. So how are we going to do that? We are going to do that by, one, making sure that the employees that work for the Treasurer's Office have sufficient training, they are informed, they know what they're asking for, they know what they need to do, and that there is clear accountability. So knowing that if they do not meet these standards of this office, that they will be documented, written up, warned, and then possibly terminated if that continues to happen.
Thank you.
Yes, I'm going to change this up a little bit because you've already answered part of my question. I usually like to ask about strengths and weaknesses of an individual.
Okay.
You've kind of touched on some of the strengths. If you want to add anything more, go ahead.
Sure.
Weaknesses I always like to hear about because they're not always bad if we understand what our weaknesses are and we know how to work with them. And then the other one, since you've been going through the various steps in the Treasurer's Office of Douglas County. Now, if you had the little treasurer's hat on, because I'm sure all of that time frame, you always probably thought, boy, we could do this better, or this better, or this better. Now that you would have the treasurer's seat, what have you learned in the past that would help you there?
Sure. Well, thank you for that question. As far as weaknesses, I'll be honest. I know that when I first started at Douglas County, one of the things that was pointed out to me and made very clear was that sometimes I can be a little bit too ambitious. And what I mean by that is coming from the private sector into the public service sector, it took me a little while to kind of get my bearings straight and realize that it takes time, especially in the public, especially working for the government, that things don't happen overnight. This isn't a private business. This is public money. We have to be responsible fiscally with the money that we are working with. So we can't just, go buy new things and bring in these, software development, bring in a new website, things like that. That all has to be approved and worked with. So that's something that I know that I had to work on. And it's it's been brought to my attention, and now that I've kind of been in the public service for a little while, it's been something that I've been focused on trying to improve on and work on. Did you ask for 2 weaknesses? I'm sorry.
Whatever you
okay.
want to share. If you got
sure.
another one, throw it out there.
Yeah, I think definitely trying to be a little too ambitious. And, you know, another weakness would be feeling, you know, that I maybe know a little bit more than I need to. So it's very easy to kind of think that you have this organization figured out and that you know how things work. But the longer that I've worked in the Douglas County Treasurer's Office and worked in Douglas County in general, the more I realize how many more moving parts there are and how much each organization affects the other and how well they have to work together. So that has been a really big focus of mine as of the last 5 years, is just realizing that we all have to work together, and each organization is going to be a crucial part of how this county is going to run and operate. And we have to be able to operate and communicate with each other so that we can keep it going smooth and operate very smoothly. And then the second part of your question, sir?
Was having the treasurer's seat.
Sure. You know, I think I've kind of touched on this a little bit, but I know from my previous experience, there's a lot of information, and I've seen COVID-19 has really changed a lot of how a lot of different organizations operate. And I know from my experience, employment and employee retention and those kind of things, those have been challenges, and I would assume that that's got to be similar on your guys' side of things. So one, I think bringing on new employees with the right tools and abilities and skill sets, that's going to be very important, because as I mentioned before, I know from experience that there's a lot of information that is required for these employees to know. So are we giving them all of the appropriate resources to obtain that information, to obtain that knowledge? And if they don't have it all memorized, do they have the resources that they can find those answers and find that information? You know, I think that's maybe where I've seen some places fall short, is in employee training. Also, I know that because of the COVID-19 pandemic, there's a lot of shortages with just applicants in general. I feel like sometimes there are businesses and organizations, from my experience, that will hire somebody just to put a body in the position. And although that looks good to the public, the staff is full, you know, are we really bringing in the candidates that we need to have in the organization for long-term success? And that is something that I want to get away with. I don't want to just put people in the jobs that aren't qualified or that don't have the motivation to do the job well. I want the right people, and I want the right training and skills for those people to be successful.
Okay, thank you.
Any other follow-up questions?
All right, I got one. So Nathan, the easy part of this thing is getting appointed, okay? And the hard part is, if you get appointed, it's a political office. You got to run for re-election. Would you be committed to doing that in 2026 when this initial appointment's over?
Yes. I just want to make it clear to you as the board and the members of Sarpy County that if I were to be appointed to this position, my overall goal would be to stay in this position for as long as possible, as long as the residents of Sarpy County would permit me. I would intend to run, I would intend to win, and I would intend to continue to work and improve and keep adding on to the success that Sarpy County's already had. You know, I've noticed from my experience in my county coming to the Sarpy County Treasurer's Office that the organization is well managed. It's well ran. It's well, everything seems to be a lot more streamlined. You know, that's no knock on Douglas County, but I see a lot of the things and the strides that have been made already that I am, one, completely in support of, but two, I would just love to keep adding on to that. You know, even though we are the government and things take time to be done in the government and we have to be fiscally responsible, we still want to continue to move the county into the future and streamline the processes, make sure that we're being responsible with the funds that we collect and making sure that they are being distributed correctly to all of their schools. I know that that's a problem that had plagued Sarpy County at one point in the past. So, you know, that's the key, is making sure that all of those different mechanisms are in place and that we're continuing to strive forward, as opposed to staying with the status quo, which is, you know, the typical government, you know, bureaucratic kind of stuff within the laws, of course, but working to try to continue to move it into the future.
Thank you.
Perfect. So now's just an opportunity for you to tell us anything you think we need to know, or let us know, you know, anything, no limits here. So.
Okay. Well, I know that Sarpy County is a rapidly growing county. It's growing very fast. It's really exciting. As a new resident of Sarpy County, that's something that I value. And would love to continue to contribute within. Like I had mentioned before, there is a very good, everything has been kind of streamlined in this county as far as what I've experienced when I've walked into the treasurer's office. So keeping that mentality is going to be key to our success as the county continues to grow. I also have, like I had mentioned, worked with training employees. So I think that bringing in the right employees and then giving them the appropriate training is going to be key to the organization's success, and is going to allow for the public and the Sarpy County residents to have a very enjoyable experience every time they come and visit the county. But more importantly, those employees that are working for Sarpy County, giving them resources and skills, professional development, anything that we can do to help build future leaders within that organization to help, you know, be the leaders of the future. That's going to be very important to me as well. I know that I have had a great opportunity working where I came from, you know, and my treasurer really did put a lot of, give me a lot of opportunities and has allowed me to grow as a professional. And that's something that I take very, very serious into my heart. So I really want to include, I apologize. I really want to include that same mentality into the employees in Sarpy County and help them develop. And then the last thing is, I think what would be beneficial if I were to get this position is that I understand it. Luckily, I've had the opportunity to do it at the ground floor. I know how to process. I was a part of the launch of the Victory system, which the state launched in 2019. I know that was a big task. I know how to operate that stuff. I'm just looking to continue to build on that and take the responsibility of the leader and the figurehead and the face of the organization. And that's something that I am willing to do and I really want to do. But fundamentally, at a very fundamental level, I understand the job, which I don't know if a lot of the people who walk into this role or get elected into this role necessarily do. So I think that is something that I really want to make clear to everyone, that I can relate to the employees, so hopefully that will allow them to buy into my message and my leadership.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for coming out. Our plan is to, the board's going to weigh the options and then we'll vote at the September 12th meeting. So we'll be in touch after that.
Okay, thank you guys
so much
very
for
much. I
coming.
really appreciate it.
Thank you, Nathan.
Okay.
Gary. Will you grab me a water? Thanks.
Gary just needs 1 minute.
Dan beat me to it.
It's good.
He needs 1 minute.
It's good.
Yeah. I know, it is. It's kind of painfully quiet in here.
Thanks, Scott.
No, thank you, I've got one. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you.
Very much.
Way over here, see if they got
Had to see we were missing.
1 down, 1 to go.
No job too big or too small.
Oh, you come sit in here? Good. Good thing we'll level that.
Yeah.
Get my consultants. Cut that down.
I really did.
4:30.
Okay.
Yeah, I told them if they can get here sooner, to do that.
After the meeting, I'm gonna tell you something.
Okay.
It reminds me of when you came in.
Madam Clerk, did a good, enjoy your son's visit?
Yes, and he's still here because we don't usually have a meeting. He's actually here for 2 more weeks, so, yeah, I'm enjoying it. Huh?
Where is?
Columbus, Ohio.
Ohio State fan, yeah?
Okay, Kendra, we're ready. We're good.
All right, thank you.
Hi, Cindy. You can come right on up to the podium here if you like. I'm Angie Burmeister. We're going to just go over, each of the commissioners is going to ask a couple of questions, and then at the end, we'll have an opportunity for you to just tell us anything you think we might want to know in our selection process, and then we'll kind of go from there. So
All right, perfect.
we're going to start with Commissioner Kelly.
Hey, welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for taking time to come talk to us today. The first question is an easy one, but I think it's an important one, and hopefully it'll get you warmed up for these tough questions that they're going to ask afterwards.
Oh, no, I'm afraid.
How do you recognize employees for good work, and what have you found in your experience works best to motivate and reward employees?
So there's been several different programs that we've had. Some I've implemented on my own. Some have been company facilitated. I think rewarding employees based on, okay, first let me take a minute back. You have to decide how the employee wants to be recognized. So some people like public recognition. Some people just like that pat on the back sometimes, private conversation. So first you have to determine that. I think that if you make sure that the goals are clear and then the employees understand that they're going to get rewarded based on that, those are usually the best steps to be able to follow. Some of the things that I've implemented have been recognition by being able to do things that are above and beyond. Maybe a special assignment or a project gets awarded to an individual that is showing that they're, I guess, better or striving to be better than the average. I think that it's also important to keep employees motivated. We used to have something that I developed called the Fun Committee. We didn't really have a budget for it, but we tried to come up with, as a small group of employees and myself, came up with fun things for the employees to do. So we had speed dating, if you will. There were several groups. I had about 120 people. And so part of that was just sitting in the conference room, and they had 30 seconds to talk to the person across from them, ask them questions, so that they got to know each other a little bit better, understood who was on which teams and who they could go to for help. So just little fun things like that to keep people motivated and engaged in work.
Thanks, Cindy.
Sure. That wasn't too bad.
Okay, Commissioner Mixon is next.
Hi, Cindy.
Hi.
Question, and it gets right into staff, and I know you've supervised and managed quite a few. So if an employee did not meet up to your level of expectation on the work, whether it's on the work and or on communication, or response to another either coworker or customer, et cetera, how would you handle that? And then how would you, as you go forward, how would you try to take care of that so it doesn't happen again?
Sure. So first, it's important to understand why the employee isn't meeting your expectation. There could be a lot of reasons that would be driving that. I'm sorry, I feel like I'm drifting. There could be a lot of reasons that would be driving that. Sometimes it's just the expectation isn't clear, and that's easy enough. You just review whatever it is that you want the employee to be able to do better or different. Sometimes it involves retraining. Sometimes there's maybe a little bit more hand-holding that needs to happen. I'm sure that there's some sort of disciplinary program in place here where you have well, we used to have, like, you get basically a first notice if someone continues not to meet the expectation. You have basically a first warning, then a second warning, then the third warning, then the final warning, then the final warning, and so it progresses. I'm not sure if that's what y'all do here, but I'm guessing that there's probably something similar. There are some times where it's just not in that individual skill set to be able to do the job that you're putting in front of them. In those cases, you need to help them understand that they need to find their joy elsewhere, and find either a way to move them into something that they can do that might be a better fit for them, or find a way to convince them that we're going to keep going down this disciplinary path. I mean, at some point, you can make the decision to leave on your own, or we're going to have to terminate your employment.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Sure.
Commissioner Klug?
Thank you, Angie. Thank you for being here. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
So my question is really around, you already talked about some ideas that you've implemented places. So if you were the new treasurer, you'd probably have some ideas of changes or new initiatives that you would want to put in place at the treasurer's office. Can you tell me about or tell us about some experiences that you've had with some initiatives that you have done that you've had success with that you would like to bring with you to improve not only the work environment within the treasurer's office, but certainly to help serve the constituents of the county better?
Sure. First, let me make sure that we're clear that I wouldn't make any changes initially. I think that it's really important to come in and understand the job as it is today. That was something that when I had folks that would come to work for me, I would say, you need to learn the things that we have in place now. And then if you want to make suggestions or do it your own way, that's great. But you have to, there's a reason that we do it the way that we do, and you need to understand that. So that would be the first thing, would be me getting up to speed and understanding everything as it is today. Once I understood the structure, I could probably take a look at what the folks are, what their requirements are. I know that you have a lot of front lines, so that's a little bit more difficult to work with as far as incentives and recognitions and things like that than back office, because back office, you can always pull those people away from their work for a short period of time. Obviously, the public suffers if you do that to front end, so you're not going to do that. I think that there are probably some initiatives, things that I've learned just from being in a leadership role for so long, that if I saw things, I could either enhance them, or there might be something that y'all have never tried here that I could bring that would be completely different. Not knowing what you have in place, it's a difficult question to respond to, but I think that I've implemented enough things as far as silly things like Employee of the Month, different awards that you can give out for those types of things. We used to have, so I'm from Bank of the West, and we had the Little Bears as our I guess, our mascots for quite a while. So we had, the Good Bear Award and things like that. And all that meant was that if you did a good job or somebody recognized you, then you got the little bear on your desk. It wasn't a big deal, but it was a sense of recognition in the department. And so it kind of turned into something that it wasn't really intended to be, I guess, but just little things like that.
Thank you.
Sure.
Perfect. Let's see, I think it's me next. Cindy, the candidates for this position bring a wide variety of experience and background. Name the top 2 subject matter strengths and 2 personality or soft skill strengths you would bring to the treasurer's job. And also talk about whether you meet the basic qualifications that were published for the position.
Okay. I definitely think based on the job description and my resume that I meet the qualifications. I do have a strong financial background. I've been in banking for more than 20 years. Most of that time I've been in a leadership role. So I think when you look at what the qualifications are, it wasn't just I worked at a bank. It was I managed things where we were posting payments and balancing GLs, things of that nature. So I think it lends itself fairly well to this position. The soft skills. So my soft skills are a little bit different. I think that I'm good at getting people to work together, getting people to buy into things without really making them feel like they're buying into things. I wouldn't call myself a salesman by any means, but I definitely think that I can sell ideas. It often takes me a couple of days to process. Like if you said, Cindy, this is what I need you to do, I'm going to hear what you say, but it might take me 2 or 3 days to figure out how I'm going to do that and start working towards it. And it's usually gradual. So I don't like to make big, huge changes, especially that impact people's lives overnight, unless you absolutely have to. I think one of my other soft skills is that I am a good listener without trying to be a therapist. I think that for whatever reason, people are comfortable with me. And when you ask somebody a question like, tell me what you hate about your job, I don't want to lose you as an employee, you need them to feel comfortable and honest with you. And so I think I would bring that. What was the other question? Hard skills? The first thing that you asked, I'm sorry, I forgot.
Yeah, top 2 subject matter strengths and then 2 personality or soft skill strengths.
Okay. So my actual strengths are going to be the things that are obvious as far as leadership, the financial piece, being able to manage teams, diverse teams, things of that nature. I think that I decision a little bit differently. I decision quickly, but I decision a little bit differently than a lot of people do. I look at issues a little bit differently, and that's why with managers I've worked with in the past, I've kind of complemented that because most people go for the quick win or the quick hit. I'm usually the person who runs along behind and says, well, wait a minute, we need to think about this or we need to talk about that first. So I think that that's probably the biggest strength that I bring with me no matter where I go, truth be told. And I have a tendency to be able to leverage the things that I've learned in the past and know what I don't want to do versus what I do want to do to be a stronger leader. I've worked for some terrible leaders and some great leaders, and I try to take the best of both of those.
Commissioner Mixon.
Oh. I didn't know I was up next, but
I think you are.
okay. No, I'm good. I'll take
we
it.
ended with
No,
you.
I'll take it. So,
Oh, he has 2 more. Okay.
yeah, so we
Losing track, sorry.
kind of mentioned the strengths. So I will also I like to ask about strengths and the weaknesses. So the weaknesses, and I say this because if people share weaknesses and they know how to handle their weaknesses, I think that makes them that much stronger and effective. So I'm hoping that I'm not looking at it to be a negative. I'm looking at it to be a positive. So if you want to share your strengths and weaknesses with us, that would be great.
Sure. I would say my biggest areas of improvement or weaknesses are probably the standard answer that everybody says is that I'm a perfectionist. I do like to do things once and do them correctly. That doesn't necessarily mean that everyone that works for me or with me has that same ability or attitude. And so I think the weakness there isn't necessarily in being the perfectionist, but in reminding myself constantly that people don't always have the same standards that I do. I would say probably another one is my delegation. Depends on the issue, but when I do things, I like to get them done right. And as I said, done the first time. And so sometimes, even though there's something that I could push off to someone else, I have a tendency to just say, it would take me 20 minutes to tell this person what I need, and I can just as easily do it in 5. The weakness there is that I'm preventing that person the opportunity to learn. And so both of those things I'm aware of. My strengths are probably, I can talk a lot, but I am good at, my communication skills are usually pretty good. I am typically a pretty amicable person. I can learn things pretty rapidly, and I don't necessarily feel like I should ask someone to do something that I can't figure out how to do myself.
Okay, thank you, appreciate it.
Sure.
Commissioner Kelly?
Yeah, I got a hypothetical for you here. So you get appointed treasurer, congratulations. And you've been in the job for 3 weeks. A Sarpy County resident or customer calls our administrator, has complains about an issue concerning some of your staff. This issue and these staff have also been the subject of several complaints over the past several months. The administrator is beginning to suspect that this may be a performance problem with the staff involved. How would you handle that situation?
The first thing, and it's probably something that you would need to know about me, is that I am not reactionary. I've worked for people in the past that would get very irritated by the fact that they would say, oh, the house is on fire, and I don't go running and screaming for cover immediately. I take a moment to assess that. So the first thing is to sit back and listen to the complaint and take a look at what the issue could be before starting to just automatically try to throw solutions at it. I think if it was an ongoing issue and it sounded like maybe it was multiple employees, we would need to look at what the root of that problem is. Why is it an issue? Why is this behavior? Is this something new? Is it something that's been ongoing for a long period of time? How do we start to solve for that? So if it was something that had been going on for a long time, obviously it's a learned behavior, and we need to figure out how to unlearn that behavior and teach somebody something new. If it's something that's relatively new, it could just be a misunderstanding or something that, I don't know. I'm going to start hitting the letter P for this every time, and so I teach everybody that that's what we're going to do. Again, unlearning it, but maybe it's not necessarily as big of a deal. Usually, if you just sit down and talk with folks and try to figure out what the root of the problem is and how to solve for it together, they're willing to work with you to get whatever it is rectified. If that wasn't the case and it was just they were blatantly doing something to be doing something wrong, that's obviously a disciplinary issue, and we've talked about how I would handle that.
Okay, thank you.
And then I think Commissioner Kelly, you had the
Oh, yeah, so
next one.
this is a political appointment.
Okay.
This is a political job. This appointment would be the easiest part. The hardest part would be you'd have to keep your job by running for election in 2026 when the term of the appointment's over. Are you committed to doing that?
I am. I think that would be a terrifying and fun new experience for me because I've never run for an office.
Oh, it is terrifying. Trust me.
Okay, maybe I reconsider. No, just kidding. No, I think that would be, like I said, a fun but terrifying new experience. It would be something I've never done before, and I think something I could learn a lot by doing.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Sure.
So now, Cindy, just an opportunity to tell us anything you think we might need to know in our appointment of this position.
I think that you've learned quite a lot. When it said 30 minutes or less, I was like, wow, I don't know that you're going to be able to figure that much out about me, but you did ask a lot of good questions. My manager skills are pretty solid. I've been doing it for a long time. My financial background, obviously there would be things that I would need to learn and things that you do differently. I've been in banking for so long, it doesn't mean that it's wrong, it just means that it's different. So I think that there would definitely be things for me to learn. That being said, I do think that the experience that I have lends itself very well to this position. It's a small group, which I like the idea of. I also like the fact that it's like 10 minutes from my house, so let's be honest. I don't know that there's a whole lot more than there really is to that. You've seen the resume, you've heard my responses. I'm a pretty dedicated employee. When I come to work, I come to work to work. I'm not going to say that there aren't days that I want to slack or that I want to do something else, but for the most part, if you have me, you have me 100%.
Perfect. Thank you so much for coming out. We're going to, the board's going to weigh the 4 applicants, and then we'll be making a decision at our September 12th meeting, so we'll be in touch after that.
So just so I can ask, when would the proposed start date be?
We haven't decided that for certain. We have a little bit of flexibility there. So, probably will depend on who is chosen and kind of what their situation is. We've got a little flexibility there.
Perfect. I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate your time today.
All right,
Good
thank
luck
you.
with your decision.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's see. Next is item number 6.1. We do not need item 6.2. So item 6.1 is an executive session for a legal matter.
All right. For the protection of the public interest, I move that we go into executive session to discuss a legal matter.
Madam Chair, if you don't mind, I'm not sure that all the consultants are here that need to be. So if we could take a brief recess, I know they're on the way to, Mr. Rogers, Ms. Gerlach are on their way.
Can we go into exec and then, or do we have to wait to go? Okay, we can just go into exec and then wait for them, right?
That's good.
Yeah, you certainly
Can we
can.
talk about anything outside of executive session? If we're waiting here 10, 15
Well, you
minutes.
can't have any discussion there.
we talk
This is
about
not what you're going
anything
in for yet.
Okay, so should we wait to go into exec
Well,
session?
possibly. Dan might be right. I think maybe you should just recess.
Okay, so
Hold on.
what do? We need to make a
Just
motion
call
to
a recess
recess?
for right now.
Okay,
It's
I call recess.
4:20 it's 4:21 and you're calling for a recess. How's
Okay.
that?
Perfect. Got it?
So they're back. They're live now.
All right. Okay, at 4:21, we went into recess. It's now 4:33, and we're going to do item 6.1, executive session on a legal matter.
For the protection of the public interest, I move that we go into executive session to discuss a legal matter.
Second.
Motion to go into executive session by Commissioner Klug, second by Commissioner Mixon. Please vote.
Ayes 4, absent Warren.
All right, so we're out. So go ahead and
Okay, so it is now 6:14. At 4:33, we went into executive session where our discussion was restricted to a legal matter. I need a motion that we return to regular session.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Mixon, seconded by Commissioner Klug to return to regular session. Please vote.
Aye.
Ayes 4, absent Warren.
The other thing.
All agenda items having been addressed as published, the Board of Commissioners is